you research yourself, you see that it's not talking about that. That was talking about John seeing the destruction of America already took place. He saw the mushroom cloud as Isaiah saw.
Right. Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And he saw the smoke clear, and he saw that the place was flat. And what the Most High showed him. Remember, when they saw these visions, it was like them being in a hologram type of movie.
Yep.
Where it was like a surround, instead of surround sound, it was surround sight. So you was in the middle of the movie, man.
Right.
Esau already has that technology. All right?
Yep.
And what he saw New York, he saw this place, he saw cars, he saw planes, he saw concerts, people going to concerts, people going to the movie, whatever they were doing, man. And then he said, all that's gone. All that's gone.
Yep.
And that's one of my favorite chapters, Revelation 18 chapter, because it's poetic.
Yeah.
And that's why you Edomites can't break this down. If you was to go take Revelation 18 chapter and put commentary behind it and go to Google, it'll give you some, they'll give, I don't even want to, maybe one of y'all can do that and see what they say. But sometimes they hit, they on point, sometimes they way off,
A lot of times they miss, yeah.
But you know what I'm going to do? Probably most willing tomorrow, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the commentary to see what they say. And to show you that Christianity is not, the so-called Esau's Christianity is not the truth of the Most High, because all those top scholars, they all contradict themselves.
Right.
They all contradict themselves, man. Talk about speaking the same thing.
Right.
So go ahead.
The third verse. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Now, all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication is not talking about a Christianity, man. It's not talking about no picture Caesar Borgia. Matter of fact, give me that real quick in Revelation 13. You can start at the, I guess the 13th verse.
Okay, Revelation 13 and 13.
It says, worship the image.
Yeah, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven.
That's his technology. That's his weaponry. Okay, it started with, there's a reason why the first so-called plane was set up and invented in America, because this is Babylon.
Yep.
Because that plane, Kitty Hawk, with Orville and Wilbur Wright, they came up with that concept of flying, because they were trying to do it. Certain people, they would get up and it would crash. And they were famous because their plane that they created finally, went up there and flew. And as time went on, and that was the Most High giving them that technology, man. And as time went on, the technology became better and better and better, Now you have, say again?
Knowledge shall increase.
Knowledge shall increase. Yep, Daniel 12. All right, so the Most High gave them this knowledge piecemeal, and it took a number of years. You got to remember, if you go back to the pre-19th century, which is the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution took place in steps, but mainly was around about going into the 1900s, all right, or the 19th century. So it was the 18th century, the last few years of the 18th century going into the 19th century, all right, which became the 20th century, all right. As soon as you go in the 19th century, that's considered the 21st century. 1 year after that. So prior to that, if you go back from that time to 1899, all the way back to the Greeks, guess what? The technology was pretty much the same.
I got a quick question.
You had a thing called the term is called a quantum leap. Look that word up. Look up quantum leap.
Let me see if I can get it on here.
So when you go from the Greeks, we're talking about 300 years, 400 years before the birth of Yahushua. So we're talking about more than 2,400 years ago, up until the 1850s, let's say, the 1890s. The technology was pretty much goddamn same, man. Go ahead.
I got something called quantum jump. It says physics, an abrupt transition of an electron or atom or molecule from one quantum state to another with the emission or absorption of a quantum. It says number 2, a sudden large increase or advance.
Hold up, read that again.
A sudden large increase or advance.
Read that one more time.
A sudden large increase or advance. How the hell this fell out?
Oh, that's yours?
Yeah.
I was looking, I thought somebody, I would have said something, man. I thought somebody threw it away.
Which standeth for the children of thy people.
And it's talking about Michael the Archangel. It's not talking about Yahweh Shah. It's talking about Michael the Archangel, which is right behind Yahweh Shah. Go ahead.
And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time...
What times it talking about? It's talking about the time of Jacob's trouble.
Yep.
Right.
All right? It's talking about the time of Jacob's trouble.
Which a lot of them top...
And there's only one time of Jacob's trouble.
That's right.
Even though we were in trouble, but the time of Jacob's trouble is talking about now. It's getting ready to take place now.
Oh yeah. And at that time thy people shall be delivered. Every one that
Now,
shall...
who is our people?
The elect.
The Christians are. Vocab and his crew.
The elect of the nation of Israel.
I got a quick precept.
Oral Roberts and his church.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord.
T.D. Jakes and the Funky Bunch.
What's that guy's name? Oh, that you said it, T.D. Jakes.
Cameron Triggs.
I'm thinking hot dog.
How about Cameron Triggs?
Creep low dollar.
Creep Low, huh?
Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it.
He shall be saved. Read it again, huh?
Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it.
So Jacob's trouble has not come yet. Jacob's trouble is getting ready to come. 2nd Ezra 15, 2nd Ezra 16 is also talking about Jacob's trouble. Revelation 20. Go to that. Revelation 20, verse 7.
Revelation chapter 20, verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
Read it again from the top.
Come. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his
See,
prison.
this is a good technique. When you read a verse, you read it to yourself a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
And that's what a lot of these guys don't do. You know?
Remember High Priest already used to say, use the words that are in the scripture,
That's it.
because that brings out the most impact.
That's it. That's it.
You know?
Go ahead, read on.
It says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
What 1,000 years is it talking about? Anybody?
From the time when the Roman Empire fell, all the way until they came back into power during the Renaissance.
Yep.
324 AD.
Right, and that's what it. That's what
13.
exactly. That's the 1,000 years were fulfilled when they got out of the under the
Dark
foot,
Ages.
the feet of
Jake.
Dark Nation, which is Jake.